I might just read it here so we all have it. The President has not spoken with the Attorney General about having Ukraine investigate anything relating to former Vice President Biden or his son. The President has not asked the Attorney General to contact Ukraine on this or any other matter. The Attorney General has not communicated with Ukraine on this or any other subject, nor has the Attorney General discussed this matter or anything relating to Ukraine with Mr. Giuliani. You're familiar with that?
I am.
And you stand by your statement that
I
the
sure
Justice Department is corrupted, and it's based on what the whistleblower said in the complaint.
No, it is not based entirely on that.
I just asked you what you were talking about, the whistleblower, and you said it was based on the whistle. You said the Justice Department is corrupted based on what you saw in the complaint.
It was based on the whistleblower's complaint. It was based on the partial...
It was based on the whistleblower's complaint?
In part, and if you let me finish my answer, it is also based on the further...
I'm going to interject here and caution my friend from Ohio that this subject is not germane to this hearing, and it's disruptive and it's disrespectful.
Mr. Chairman, you've been through this
process that...
All right, I've got to say it. This hearing got heated fast. Because what you're about to watch is not just another committee disagreement. This turns into a major showdown over something bigger. Who gets to decide what questions are allowed in a congressional hearing and who doesn't? Jim Jordan comes into this exchange pressing a witness over comments about the Justice Department, Ukraine, and claims of corruption. Pretty direct line of questioning, right? But almost immediately, you see a procedural fight erupt. Suddenly, the argument is no longer just about the witness's statements. It becomes about relevance, authority, and whether certain topics are supposedly off-limits. And personally, watching this, I understood exactly why Jordan pushed back. Because here's the thing, if a witness publicly accuses the Justice Department of corruption, especially on a nationally discussed political issue, are lawmakers not allowed to question that claim? That's the tension here. Now, you don't have to agree with every single point Jordan makes. That's not the issue. The issue is whether members of Congress should be able to aggressively challenge testimony and public claims inside a judiciary setting. And what really grabbed my attention was Jordan refusing to retreat when told the topic wasn't germane. You could see him basically saying, "Hold on." The witness raised this publicly. The witness referenced it. Why are we pretending this is irrelevant? That's what makes this exchange so intense. By the end of this clip, the conversation isn't just about Ukraine anymore. It becomes a battle over committee rules, political accountability, and who controls the direction of the hearing itself. Watch the full exchange carefully. And after you do, tell me what you think. Was Jim Jordan asking fair questions? Or did this hearing go completely off the rails? Drop your thoughts below. And if you enjoy political reactions, hearing breakdowns, and no-filter commentary, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because we've got a lot more coming.
You to continue, but I just want to caution you that in the future, I'm not going to tolerate this kind of imposition in my subcommittee hearings.
All due respect, it's entirely germane. I would like my time.
I'll
said
restore,
it 3 minutes 35 seconds.
Well, you have no right to.
The heck I don't.
That, but I will.
The heck I don't.
No,
it's
you
my
don't.
time, and it was 3:35, and I have every right to ask. The witness actually in his opening statement brought up Ukraine. I didn't. The witness said on national television the very statement I said that he said on TV, and he said he agreed that was an accurate representation of what he said. He brought up Ukraine in his opening statement. And I have full discretion to ask the kind of questions I want. I need 3 minutes and 35 seconds on the clock.
I'm going to restore your time.
Appreciate
and I'm going to ask you that in the future, you respect the integrity. Hold on. I want you to respect the integrity of my subcommittee hearings and not bring in this extraneous issue.
Would you yield for a question?
Has no,
Chairman, yield for a question?
That is not germane to this particular.
This is the Judiciary Committee. We have a witness testifying in front of the Judiciary Committee who today on national television said the Justice Department is corrupt. If that's not relevant, tell me what is for this committee.
No, this hearing is about secrecy in.
That doesn't change the fact that the witness brought up Ukraine in his opening statement this morning on national television, said the Justice Department is corrupt.
Mr. Jordan, if we're going to have a discourse, I'm going to need for you to listen to me just as I'm listening to you. I object to you bringing this subject into this hearing because it's not germane, but I'm going to allow you to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But I'm going to ask that in the future, you limit yourself to this hearing, intruding with extraneous material such as this. And with that,
I will do my best, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, and I'll yield you 3 minutes and 30 seconds to continue your questioning.
Our witness who said this morning the Justice Department is corrupt on national television, basing that, at least in part, earlier said, basing that on the whistleblower complaint. We need to remember a few things about this whistleblower. He had no firsthand knowledge of the phone call. He wasn't on the call, but we do know one thing about this whistleblower, Mr. Toobin. He had a political bias. We learned that from the Inspector General. Inspector General told us there was indicia of arguable political bias. You know what that is? That's Washington speak for this guy hated Trump. And yet that is the basis for our witness telling us that the Justice Department is corrupt. Let me give you a few facts.
Would you like an answer?
I will in a second. Let me give you a few facts just to give a little context to this. Facts that happened in the Justice Department prior to Bill Barr taking over the Justice Department. Things that happened in the Obama Justice Department. You familiar with this, Mr. Toobin? That the Obama Justice Department's FBI spied on 2 Americans associated with the presidential campaign. You familiar with that? You familiar with the fact that the Obama Justice Department's FBI opened a counterintelligence investigation on the Republican Party's presidential candidate and didn't tell the candidate they had an investigation, a counterintelligence investigation open on him? Didn't tell him what was going on? You familiar with the fact that the Obama Justice Department's FBI allowed Peter Strzok and Andy McCabe to run that investigation? Peter Strzok, the guy who said, don't worry, Lisa, we'll stop Trump. Trump should lose 100 million to 0. Andy McCabe. Now, this is not Jim Jordan talking. This is now the Inspector General. The Inspector General said Andy McCabe lied 3 times under oath. The Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, said that Peter Strzok should have never been allowed to head up that investigation, not because he had this bias against Clinton, or bias against Trump in favor of Clinton, I should say, but because he ran the Clinton investigation. He should have been prohibited from running that. But the Obama Justice Department allowed it to happen. The Obama Justice Department allowed the Clinton campaign paid for document, the dossier, to be used to go to a secret court, Mr. Toobin, to spy on one of the people associated with the Trump campaign. And the former FBI director leaked information through his friend of the New York Times in an effort to get a special counsel, which he was successful in doing. And finally, I would just say this. On January 6th, the Obama Justice Department went to the Trump Tower when it was President-elect Trump. January 6, 2017, they told the president-elect he was not under investigation, all the while trying to set him up as part of their Trump-Russia investigation. And again, not my words. That was in the report released just 3.5 weeks ago by the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz. And yet today, based on a whistleblower that had no firsthand knowledge, wasn't on the phone call, has a political bias against the president, you're saying this Justice Department is somehow corrupt.
Well, I mean, if you want to just talk about the whistleblower, one of the extraordinary things about the whistleblower was that in the whistleblower's report, there is a summary of the phone call between the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine. And of course, as you point out, the whistleblower did not have access to the partial transcript that we've now seen. But notwithstanding the absence of firsthand access to that transcript, the whistleblower's summary of that phone call was extremely accurate, which suggests a great deal of credibility on the part of the whistleblower, wouldn't you say?
How do you know it's extremely accurate? Mr. Chairman, are you kidding me?
The gentleman, yes, it has expired. The gentleman's time has expired, and let me say that
you got a second round?
It won't be a second round on this line.
Heck, it won't.
No, it won't. And I want the gentleman to know that the next time he comes in,
will the chairman allow one more question for Mr. Toobin?
I want the gentleman to know that the next time he comes into my subcommittee and disrupts it in this way.
How is this disruptive?
Because you're off topic. And so if this should happen again, I'm going to be prepared through our rules to hold you accountable. And with that,
Mr. Chairman, the rules allow me to ask the questions I want to ask. The only thing disruptive here is your behavior in limiting and interrupting my question. It was my 5 minutes. You interrupted. I got one more question that I would appreciate being able to ask the witness.
With that, the gentleman is no longer recognized.
Okay, after watching that full exchange, I've got to be honest. Jim Jordan was clearly trying to drive toward one central point: accountability for claims being made about the Justice Department. That's the core of what I saw here. Now, from Jordan's perspective, this wasn't some random detour. He's essentially saying, you publicly called the Justice Department corrupt, based at least partly on a whistleblower narrative. So, let's examine that claim. That's a legitimate line of political scrutiny, especially in a judiciary context. And what made this clip so explosive is that the procedural fight started almost immediately. You had objections about relevance. You had warnings from the chair. You had arguments over whether the issue belonged in the hearing at all. But Jordan didn't back down. And honestly, that's very on-brand for him. Whether people love his style or hate it, one thing Jim Jordan consistently does is push hard on areas he thinks aren't being fully examined. Now, let's talk about the whistleblower discussion because that was a major part of this exchange. Jordan focuses heavily on credibility questions. He points out concerns about first-hand knowledge, political bias allegations discussed by oversight officials, and whether conclusions drawn from the complaint should automatically be treated as definitive. That's clearly the lane he wanted to stay in. Then, he broadens the argument. And this is where the exchange shifts from one controversy into a larger institutional critique. Jordan starts referencing past DOJ and FBI controversies, surveillance issues, investigative decisions, internal conduct questions, and debates surrounding major investigations. Whether viewers agree with every example he raises or not, his broader argument is pretty clear. If we're going to talk about corruption, consistency matters. That was his message. And frankly, you could tell the hearing was no longer just about facts on paper. It became a clash over narratives. One side arguing, this topic doesn't belong here. Jordan arguing, this topic absolutely belongs here because it goes directly to claims being made by the witness. That's why the procedural battle became almost as important as the substance itself. Now, one thing I noticed watching this: Jordan's frustration wasn't only directed at the witness. It was also directed at what he viewed as limitations being placed on the questioning process. You hear him repeatedly defend his right to pursue the line of questioning, invoke committee authority, and argue that interruptions themselves became the disruptive element. And that's what made the exchange feel bigger than a normal hearing dispute. Because at that point, it's not just, do you agree with Jim Jordan? It becomes, how much latitude should lawmakers have when cross-examining witnesses in high-stakes hearings? That's a real question. Now, personally, after watching the full clip, my takeaway is this. Jordan believed a public accusation about the Justice Department demanded tough questioning. He believed the witness's statements opened the door. And he was unwilling to let procedural objections shut that conversation down. Agree or disagree? That determination is exactly why moments like this go viral. Because congressional hearings today aren't only about gathering information. They're also about confrontation, public persuasion, institutional trust, and controlling the narrative. And Jim Jordan knows that. Very well. Now I want your reaction. Was Jordan defending oversight? Was the chairman right to object? Did this hearing expose a deeper disagreement over what belongs in congressional questioning? Comment below, because this one is guaranteed to divide people. And if you enjoyed this full breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more reactions, political analysis, and major hearing moments coming up next.